Hello world, I'm Sphen. You can also call me Big Oof if you want. I guess this shows how poorly qualified I am to talk about these topics, but why not? Why don't we entertain the average young 20-something's perspective on the issues, huh? Why not? So, what are we talking about today? It's Israel-Gaza time, baby. Woo! Yeah, pretty depressing stuff, in all seriousness. And I guess it agitated me enough that I actually decided to record something political. I never thought I'd be doing this. But, god damn, the narratives are brutal out there right now. I mean, every other person in the mainstream news is like some insane genocide denier right now. It's a weird time to be alive. Yeah, you know, people say this issue's very complicated, hard to understand, a lot of history, blah blah blah. I'm here today to show the perspective of some people, including Netanyahu, within the Israeli government. What they're saying and their reactions to what's going on. Because I feel like you should hear it straight from the horse's mouth. You know, you hear a lot of people in the news, people on Twitter, or as it's called now, X. People in the U.S. government are doing a really good job of holding water for the government of Israel. And people in Western media are arguably doing a better job of propaganda than the Israeli government itself. It's to their benefit that you don't see what the Israeli government says, what Netanyahu says, because they can't hide how gleefully genocidal they are. Let's start with this guy, the Minister of Agriculture and former Shin Bet chief. This is Avi Dichter. Heh. Funny name. Anyways, Mr. Dichter here, he's not the most important guy in the government, but I think, you know, just hearing what he has to say will shock you. As you can see from the title of the video, yes, he uses the phrase a Nakba of Gaza. Let's see how the conversation goes.
עזה הולכים עם דגלים לבנים דרומה. זאת אחת ממטרות, זו מטרה פסיכולוגית של המבצע. זה
בראש ובראשונה...
זה אירוע אסטרטגי, זה זמני.
זה בראש ובראשונה אירוע מבצעי. צריך להבין, יש לנו שם הרבה מאוד לוחמים שלנו, שצריכים לפעול בשטח מאוד מאוד צפוף. לפעול בשטח צפוף, כמו שם, כשהוא רווי באוכלוסייה, אתה רוצה לצמצם את מספר
אני רק שואל אם זה יוצר תודעה של נקבה, או שזה משהו...
Okay, so I'm gonna pause here. This dude, Mr. Dichter, is saying that basically, you know, we gotta get all the civilians out of there so we can kill the terrorists. Which is the Israel government line. And that's certainly what they would say to justify what they're doing. Of course, and you can't humanely get the civilians out of there in such a short time. This is what would be called the Trail of Tears in another context. And also, you know, they're dropping drone strikes on the land. I'll get to this more later, but that's just not gonna be that effective at taking out Hamas. But the interviewer asks now, as a follow-up, okay, so is this like the Nakba again? Or is this just going to be a temporary thing? The Nakba was an event in... I don't remember the years, I'm bad with dates, but it happened in the past, maybe like the 80s or something, or the 60s, where basically this is how Israel got its start as Israel in its current form. the Zionists and British UN soldiers. I'm kind of doing this very quickly, there's a lot more nuance to it, but they essentially just drove the Palestinians out of their homes in Palestine, as it was called. And let me start this over. Basically, Palestinians were kicked out of their homes and replaced by Israelis. Hundreds of thousands were told to go somewhere else because this is our land now. And so they had to, by foot, in droves, in a panic, all flee for their safety to a different part of the countryside. And that was known as the Nakba, which translates to the catastrophe. And it was essentially a trail of tears. I mean, I'm going to use that term so that Americans can understand, because we're very America-brain, and we don't understand anything outside of our own history. And we barely understand our own history. But anyways, that's what happened in the past. And the reason he's bringing it up now is because many Palestinians were told by different Arab governments at the time, like, I don't know, was it like Iraq and Syria and Egypt, like, oh no, us Arab states are gonna declare war on Israel and we're gonna win, and then you can go back home. So a lot of them, the Palestinians, thought that they would get to return to their homes, maybe like in a year. And they even kept their house keys, which is very tragic now that we know that never happened. They never were allowed to return. And so that's why he's asking, is this a Nakba or is this something temporary?
יהיה להם לאן לחזור?
אנחנו עכשיו מגלגלים בעצם את נכבת עזה, אם תרצה, נכבת עזה.
מקדמים.
זו נכבת עזה. מבחינה מבצעית אין אפשרות לנהל מלחמה כמו שצה"ל רוצה לנהל אותה בתוך שטחי עזה, כשההמונים נמצאים בין הטנקים ובין החיילים.
זו נכבת עזה, אבי דיכטר.
נכבת עזה 2023.
וככה זה ייגמר הפליטות?
Yeah, so he just said, yeah, guys, this is the Nakba of 2023. It's all a strategical thing. He's just kind of saying it like it's no big deal. But it's actually, what he's describing is ethnic cleansing. Or ethnic displacement. And the guy asks, well, are they going to be able to come back? I mean, you're not answering the question. You're kind of implying that they're not. That they're going to temporarily be gone from Gaza City.
זאת אומרת, הם לעזה לא חוזרים? לעיר עזה.
אני לא יודע איך זה ייגמר בסופו של דבר, כי תזכור שהעיר עזה יושבת על שליש מהרצועה. חצי מהאוכלוסייה, אבל שליש מהרצועה. יש עוד שליש מעזה.
What the hell are you even saying, man? Oh, well, I don't know, but look, I mean, he says he doesn't know, but then he's trying to give a justification for, well, if they don't get to return, it's still fine, because they still have 2/3 of the Gaza Strip that they can live in, just already a tiny piece of land. Oh, half the population in 1/3 of a strip? That's ridiculous. As if, I don't know, big cities don't exist. I mean, look at any city in the middle of a countryside. It's gonna have like 80% of the population of the area. What are you even talking about? And now he's saying there's refugee camps they can go to. That's not a home. It's not a permanent home to live in. What are you even talking about?
יש עוד 6 מחנות פליטים.
כן.
בחלק הצפוני יש רק 2 מחנות פליטים.
ישב כאן...
אבל רק 2.
Yeah, fun stuff from this guy. And this isn't like me putting words in his mouth. I mean, you can look at what he's saying and come to the pretty obvious conclusion. But you may say, oh, that's just one guy. And you'd be right. So, how about the Prime Minister of Israel himself, the head honcho, the big BB, as they call him. This is a live update from a couple days ago. Netanyahu indicates that Israel will oppose the Palestinian Authority's return to Gaza after the war. Dystopian stuff, Ben. let's see what he actually said. So, and the U.S. isn't even on his side with this one, so you know this is some unhinged nonsense. Okay, website, sure. Prime Minister indicates that Israel will oppose the return of the Palestinian Authority to Gaza. But Anthony Blinken, our good old Secretary of State, said that Gaza must have Palestinian governance after all this is over. A Gaza unified with the West Bank under the Palestinian Authority. But Netanyahu says that Israel needs to retain their overall security control, including the capacity to go in whenever we want to eliminate the terrorists. So he's saying that they're going to have troops in North Gaza for a time, quote unquote, after the war ends. And he says there won't be Hamas, and there won't be a civil authority that educates its children to hate Israel, to kill Israelis, to eliminate the state of Israel. There cannot be an authority that pays the families of murderers amounts based on the number they murder. There cannot be an authority whose leader still has not condemned the terrible October 7th massacre 30 days later. Now, I don't know who he's trying to vague post about here. So, this is interesting because he's saying there won't be Hamas, and also there won't be a civil authority, and he's totally not subtweeting the Palestinian Authority by saying this. Totally not. I guess I should be facetious. He is. This is supposed to be educational. Maybe some of you don't get it. Yes, he's essentially conflating the Palestinian Authority with whatever he said here, which is some government that trains its children to hate Israel. And he's saying that, oh, they can't govern that state. So there needs to be something else. But anyways, we gotta have our security control. I insist upon it. And I don't intend to cave. Okay, wow, this is actually... I didn't read this before. This is worse than what I thought. Yeah, he's basically just signaling they're just gonna occupy North Gaza for a good bit. I mean, potentially forever. I mean, what are the Palestinians gonna do? Fight them? Lol. So, that's his plan, and that's the stated goal, pretty much. I mean, I guess, if you were to be charitable, this would just be an inevitability of the war, in your eyes, or whoever is taking this perspective. You could say, oh, well, you know, they're gonna be doing so much damage to the city, and Gaza's not gonna have an authority, so someone's gotta step in, and, well, might as well be Israel, but, I mean, come on. You have to admit that this is very suspicious, right? They could very easily take control of the area, and then just not give it back ever, because they really have no incentive to. I mean, the issue is, like, Gaza's not a valuable piece of land. Like, sure, it has a coast, but I mean, this is really... Like, this is an annexation. They are driving the Palestinians out of the area for the war, and they're going to occupy it, and then it's unclear if they're going to let the Palestinians back in. And you know how tight their border security is. If North Gaza is now the southernmost border of Israel in that region, are they going to let Palestinians live there? Are they going to let them pass the border? Who knows? That's kind of where we're at now. I guess I can skip some of the old hat stuff. I'll just skim over it. This is more messaging from Israeli officials, people in the Israeli government. And I'm trying to paint a picture of the fact that they are being very honest with their intentions. Like, there's no, we're defending ourselves, we're trying to target the terrorists only, and we really want to get these hostages back. Those are what Western media will tell you they're saying, but That's not what they're saying. This is actually what they're saying. Israeli officials says that fuel will not be allowed into Gaza even if Hamas releases all the hostages. And this was on October 23rd. So, they intend to keep up the blockade of food, fuel, and electricity. And now they're saying, yeah, even if Hamas gave us all of the hostages, we wouldn't negotiate with them for fuel. Now this was this was already at this point was like the third or fourth time hostage negotiations fell through because Israel didn't want to concede any bit of ground. They're doing the whole we don't negotiate with terrorists bit, which, if you want your hostages back, you have two options. You either have to send in the SWAT team, or you have to negotiate. You can't just bomb the area where the hostages are. It's not going to help them. Some reports say that some of the hostages have already been blown up by Israeli bombs, because, as we saw from that one hostage who was released who gave a press conference, she said Hamas was, quote-unquote, very nice to her. Now, that's not because Hamas are a bunch of great guys. It's because they know that hostages have strategic value, and they're not just going to kill them. Because there'd be no point in taking hostages if you're going to let them die. And the reason I'm saying this is because people are acting like the hostages are doomed to be killed by Hamas, or like they might just be dying of starvation or something, so is it really worth trying to save them? What did they expect, an unconditional surrender of Hamas, where they release all the hostages? Hamas isn't going to surrender, they're a bunch of insane jihadists. You have to be realistic with your expectations and goals. And your standards. I don't know what standard people are holding Hamas to. They're acting like they're on the same level as a democratic government. But they're not. They're just not. Well, 8 Republicans, I wonder what they did this time. I'll get to that at another date. Let's go on to the Israeli website. This is going on a lot longer than I thought it would. I'm sorry. And I apologize for the leftist audio, too. I thought my mic was pretty good, but I've got to get some, noise filters or something. Okay, let's make this quick. This is Israel's website. Francis Wolff is kind of cringy or whatever. But, he gives us the perspective that on their website, if you translate it from Hebrew to English, this is what the numbers say. They're calling them Israeli wins. Okay, so this is a bit outdated, or a lot outdated at this point, on October 30th. This was the death number. Funny that it's basically the same as the Palestinian Health Ministry's numbers at the time, but somehow those numbers are wrong, but then Israel has the same numbers. Interesting. But more importantly, they say these are the terrorists they eliminated. Now, the Palestinian Health Ministry had the same number, but it was labeled as Palestinians killed, presumably mostly innocent. So, Israel is just treating them all like they're terrorists. Like they're all potential terrorists or terrorist sympathizers, pretty much. And I guess that's about par for what people think of, Muslim people generally, but this is very disturbing. Again, this is from the government. They're not hiding their intentions. There's no oh, this is collateral damage, we're so sorry. No, it's, haha, we got them. We got all the terrorists. We're winning. That's the mindset, that they're winning. They're getting all the terrorists, and they just gotta keep going until all the terrorists are dead. Of course, what they actually mean is they want all the Palestinians gone from Gaza. And apparently they only got 60 important people out of 10,000. According to CBS, but whatever, we can debate semantics about foot soldiers all day, so I won't bother. Here's something more disturbing from November 9th. This is like 5-ish days ago. This guy, Danny Dannon, I don't know why all these Israeli government people have names like Benny and Danny, and like Ben. Why are they all like this? Anyways, Israel's 17th permanent representative to the UN, a member of the Knesset, chairman of the World Likud. This is an actually important guy. He's probably a shot caller. He's probably, making a lot of decisions right now. Here's what he has to say. Israel's Internal Security Agency announced that they will eliminate all participants of the October 7th massacre, including the photojournalists who took part in recording the assault. Now, come on. The journalists? He's just saying they're gonna kill journalists? Like, eliminate journalists? There's no, splicing of words here. He's just saying they want to kill journalists. Like, wow. War crime city over here, like, Jesus Christ. This is what he's saying. This isn't a conspiracy. This isn't like some fringe leftist thing. This is what the government is saying and presumably attempting to enact. And I've heard that they've targeted journalists and their families during this conflict. So keep an eye out for this especially, because journalists are our last line of defense. We need the journalists on the ground, or we'll never get anything done. Then it's all going to be debatable fog of war, semantic, genocide, cover-up bullshit all day long of, technically you're trusting the Hamas-run health organization, or technically Hamas said that, or you don't know for sure. We need the journalists to be clear. We need them to be on the ground. I mean, they just want to kill them. I don't even get this, though. Why are they targeting these journalists who recorded October 7th? Because isn't this good PR for Israel? I mean, I didn't watch the footage because I make a policy of not watching, gruesome, violent shit, even if it's politically important. I'd recommend you do the same, even. But this leads me to believe that there's a lot of recordings that aren't favorable for Israel. I mean, a lot of reports post hoc from people on the ground were saying that, some casualties, maybe a good amount of them, some amount of them were due to the fighting between the IDF and Hamas. Civilians getting caught in between the two forces, potentially meaning that there was friendly fire from the IDF onto Israeli citizens. And I'm not gonna give them flack for that, really. I mean, when you're fighting in the middle of a music festival against guys with guns, and you have guns, shit can get messy. But I mean, they don't want that coming out because that looks bad for them. And that's why they want to kill these journalists. That's what I think, at least. This is a bit more fringe. This is unverifiable. But given the fact that it's an important point. If you look at Israel's Twitter, they released the name of the 1,300 people who were killed in the Hamas attack. And on that list, half of them are IDF soldiers. Now, this is not to cover for Hamas. There's no morality in Hamas. They want to kill. They want to exterminate the Jews. It's pretty clear by their actions. They didn't care if civilians died. I mean, they chose to attack a music festival with thousands of people. But I'm just saying, we have to hold Israel to the standards that we're holding Hamas to, at least. If Hamas's civilian casualty rate is 50% and Israel's is like 80%, good God, what the fuck is Israel doing? They're clearly not. This isn't collateral damage at that point. A government can choose to be strategic about invading a densely crowded area. They don't have to do a Vietnam, but they are. Okay, last thing. Okay, I'll just... Yeah, rapid fire.
Israel to occupy Gaza. Who should govern Gaza when this is over?
Those who don't want to continue the way of Hamas certainly is not. I think Israel will, for an indefinite period, will have the overall security responsibility, because we've seen what happens when we don't have it. When we don't have that security responsibility, what we have is the eruption of Hamas terror on a scale that we couldn't imagine.
Yeah, security responsibility. Yeah, right, bucko. How about this guy?
Collective punishment, as he put it, of the Palestinian people.
Now, I will front, this guy is not important. He's not in the government currently. He is a former government member, though, so it might show some of the attitudes.
And I want to talk about that in the context of the blockade and keeping fuel out of Gaza. I just wonder if you think that that is really necessary.
You know, I'm very puzzled by the constant concern which the world and also Britain, I must say, Mark, is showing for the Palestinian people, and is actually showing for these horrible, inhuman animals who have done the worst atrocities that this century has seen.
Okay. Like, wow. This wasn't a dog whistle, he just said it. He said the quiet part out loud for all of us to hear. I mean, Jesus Christ. Oh, why do people care about Palestinians?
And the worst atrocities that Jews have suffered since the Holocaust. I mean, you know, when the United States reacted to 9/11, I don't remember people shedding tears for the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. Your country, Mark, actually, Britain, actually joined them and even sent your royals to fight in Afghanistan. When the Ukrainians...
Yeah, man, it's totally the same thing, bro. I don't remember people shedding tears for the Taliban. Bro, you're giving away the goose. You didn't say Hamas, you said Palestinians, you fucking asshole. Ah, God. Like, how can you even say something like that and think it's okay? Even when, you know, the media loves your side. You can't just come out and be racist on live television and expect people to not push back. Jesus Christ.
To Russia's invasion, I don't...
Okay, it doesn't matter what he's going to continue on to say. This guy's a piece of shit. So, obviously I don't need to explain the difference between all Palestinians and the Taliban or Hamas. Everyone should know pretty obviously. And also, I've seen this argument made a lot. Oh, after 9/11, they didn't tell the U.S. to stop bombing, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan. Well, they should have. Everyone should have told us to stop. That's the point. That's the point we're making. You can't bomb terrorists and win without killing thousands of civilians. It's not possible. And we don't care. Biden doesn't give two shits. Neither does Netanyahu. I think that's all I have. There's some more. Here's a thread from Prem Thakur about some other more, you know, unhinged thing said, but I couldn't verify his sources, and some of it wasn't translated, so if you want to check it out, go ahead. It's a bit debatable if it's accurate, though. God. Okay, so, I know this was pretty depressing, and I know I'm not really an authority on anything relating to do with this conflict. I guess now that the video's over, I can give a bit more insight to my political leanings if you're interested, or you can just click off now. I wanted to save it to the end so that people's perspectives weren't biased before the actual content, because I think the content was very objective. I mean, it was literal quotes from the Israeli government, and you can't deny it, so I just want to put that out in the world. But for me, you caught me, I'm a leftist. I've got leftist audio. I don't have a specific sphere in the left. I'm not a tanky thank God. I guess I'd call myself socialist-leaning. I don't really think that's important. But all of this is maybe something I can talk about in another video. I don't know, depending on if people in my circle think this kind of content's groovy, if it's informative, that's probably the most important thing. Maybe I can cover something a bit more funny. We can point and laugh at Republicans together. How about that? Alright, this video is too long. Peace out, everyone. Have a good day.